Hi, everyone. Welcome to Out and About with Tom and Sherry.
I'm Tom.
I'm Sherry. So, this is finally, we're getting to our video on Kusadasi. That's hard to say. Turkey. And this was on our cruise, our first Mediterranean cruise in May of 2025. This was the last stop before our cruise ended. We were on the Norwegian Viva, and we went to Ephesus.
Yep. Now, Kusadasi is reported to have some of the highest quality fake merchandise in the world. I guess it's kind of known for that, talking to people. We went to Ephesus, so we didn't get to go to the fake merchandise market. So maybe next time.
Maybe next time. All right, well, we'll get started. And as we've been doing, we're going to do the picture in a picture. We'll be watching along and giving you some information on the stop there in Kusadasi and our excursion to Ephesus. So we'll get started.
Overall, my if I had to describe Kusadasi in one word or 5 words or a few words, I would give a summary of it. I would say that it was just really a dense, bustling city. Lots of apartment buildings. I mean, I think it was newer construction and
very resort. I mean, this is us coming into the port.
Yep.
On the ship. So yeah, very dense and a resort. It's a resort area.
Yep. But lots of, I guess, multi-story apartment buildings, hotel buildings, stuff like that. It wasn't like a lot of other places we went with just houses around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, certainly built up for the tourist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once we got out in the countryside, obviously on the way to Ephesus, that changed. But the town itself was dense.
So yeah, there's a little closer picture. So yeah, it was. But very it felt very comfortable. I mean, I didn't it felt tourist oriented. But there were people, obviously who work and live there, but very tourist oriented. But we got off the ship and we did the tour of Ephesus. So those are the pictures we're going to see. And then we did a little bit on the road out. We'll show that. And then coming back, so you can kind of get a sense of the highway that you're on to get to and from that location. And then I think most of the tours, excursions there have an ending in the Turkish rug complex. So you'll see that too. So anyway, so we got right off the ship and onto our excursion bus to go to Ephesus. And you knew you had arrived.
You knew you had arrived. Yep. Yep. It was a good thing they had that sign there because we felt confident that the captain of the ship hadn't made a wrong turn.
Got us in the right spot.
Got us.
And I didn't know what to expect here. I knew we were going to Ephesus, but I really didn't know what the town in and of itself. But it felt very comfortable, like I say, hustle bustle, but very tourist oriented.
Yep. And I like that statue of the person up on the hill. I have no idea who it was, but I don't know. It was just neat. And that fort was neat too.
I don't know if you could have gone out there to it or not, or if it was some kind of, just remnants of, prior decades of activity. But you saw that as you were coming off the port there into the town. And on the road to Ephesus. And I want to say it was about a 30-minute drive, maybe?
It was,
20, 30 minutes, maybe?
I'd say it was longer.
There. Oh, you think so?
I'd say it was probably closer to 45 minutes.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, there was plenty to look at, though.
Oh, yeah.
Agricultural areas.
Yeah, very agricultural in going there, coming up to the area. And it's just, it's interesting how you're driving into these areas and you just kind of arrive. And you're like, oh, it's just kind of there.
Yep.
With all these people, farming around it and everything, but here's this, remarkable historic site.
Well, I think that was something that I noticed kind of all through our trip to the Mediterranean is you've got these ancient historic sites, just like right there with stuff built around them. You know, the Roman Colosseum in the middle of a town. But yeah, Ephesus was this ancient historic site out in the middle of farmland, I guess. So I guess it was
Yeah, it
some
was a little
different
bit
there.
different. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're driving along thinking, well, where is this place? You know, and then you're just kind of there.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see this is us coming into the parking lot area for unloading the buses. You're starting to see some of the structures that are there. So you're getting a sense that you're arriving in a spot. And
there
when
it
you
is.
first got there, it kind of had a map to kind of show you the area you were going to be touring in. But you know, Ephesus. I mean, you could look this up and whatnot. But I mean, it was initially a Greek, very popular Greek uh, living area, and it was on the water, and so a port in that sense. But then Rome made it even more of a center point for trade and commerce and things of that nature in the centuries before, and then it becomes one of the early parts of Christianity. And if you there's several references to the Bible, stories in the Bible. Supposedly, the apostle Paul and John were in Ephesus preaching early Christianity, and you can read up on all of that. And we did not I just want to specify on this particular tour that we did not go to the claimed last home of Mary, the mother of Jesus. But that is an option on this Ephesus tour. You could have added that part on as well. So we're not going to show that. So if that's something you're interested in, we won't have that on this particular video. But very biblical stories in that sense.
There was a lot of biblical stories.
But anyways, obviously a very important site historically, Greek and Roman, as well as Christianity.
Yep. And culturally too, and maybe there's really no difference between a historical site and a historically important site and a culturally important site, because that was something that I realized on this trip. All the history and the culture is all kind of interwoven.
So as soon as you arrive in Ephesus, you're right there with all the ancient ruins. And we were on an excursion with a group, so we had a tour guide. And I think a lot of the tour guides were archaeologists and whatnot, and they really knew what they were talking about and what to look for and what to point out. So that was really nice to have that. But yeah, you're just like, okay, here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get out and you're like, wow. And you start to think of the impact. Maybe not impact, but you start to think of the gravity of the places that you're in. I mean, yeah, that always kind of humbles me.
And this was one of the smaller amphitheater areas. There's a much larger one coming up, but this was a small area. And as you can see, whatever this was originally had quite a grand entrance with these columns that were still there to that. So, yeah, kind of a neat reflection back for, again, like of a grand entrance coming to a theater to see something. But the ruins are just kind of laid around like this. I mean, there's been, centuries ago, earthquakes and whatnot, and a lot of restoration work. And here's kind of a view from that, from a distance as you kind of walk away. But this area, Ephesus, is just nestled within these hills. And again, remembering it was a trading center because of the port being so close by.
But you think about these places that, yeah, I mean, you can see, and they've done a good job in showing, you can look at it and tell what's been restored and what's original. And I think most of the stuff was pretty well fallen down for hundreds of years, maybe 1,000 years. But you wonder what people thought about that I don't know, 300 years ago, to pull a number out of the air? Was it like just this pile of rubble, or did they understand the importance of it then? Certainly we do now.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, from a biblical standpoint, stories in the Bible and through Christianity, the significance of the sites.
Yeah.
Certainly, the historic writings of Greek and Roman would have referenced Ephesus, because at the time it was significant.
Yeah.
So those historical records were there as to when they started doing, excavation and restoration efforts. Certainly, centuries later.
Do you think like the average farmer 300 years ago understood it? Or was this all buried 300 years ago and it's all been excavated?
Not from what I understand. I mean, I'm sure some of it was, but certainly it was, demolished like this because of the earthquakes. And the city of Ephesus was abandoned. Some of the things that I read about it was because of an overwhelming buildup of silt in the port. It could no longer be used for ships coming in.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of became a wetland, swampland type thing. And so some of the things I read about it too were talking about a significant disease developed because of the sitting, from malaria and things like that, because of the sitting water, and that was a marsh. So it was abandoned until, for whatever reason, they decided to just go back and start, we're going to, uncover this ancient, well-known city.
I liked this area because this was an area where they had gathered up, the fallen down, broken stuff, and they were kind of sorting through it and figuring out what went with what, and it was just neat. And at these places, I always joke around how trusting the people are in these areas, because they just leave this stuff out lying around, and nobody comes up and just walks off with it.
So as I recall, this particular area, these were shops.
Yep.
Craftsmen and whatnot here in that community, remnants and whatnot that are left.
And that was our tour guide.
Yeah, that was our tour guide.
And who was the other guy? He was just a person on the tour.
Yeah. So as soon as you see that area where the little shops were, you immediately walk into this stone walkway. And this was kind of the avenue of the shops and the homes and the different things. And it was kind of a steep going down, but it got in a little bit here. It got really slippery.
Yep.
And you were just like, oh boy. So I was holding on to Tom because I thought I'm going to slip and fall for sure. So good tennis shoes were necessary, but even still, it was real slippery.
Yep.
Just polished down, I guess, from so many people walking on it, right?
Yeah. People walking there over the centuries. And it was wet that day. It wasn't a blue sky day.
No, it was overcast, but it was a nice day. It wasn't hot or anything like that. We went in, this was early May. So you then start walking along this avenue area and seeing the different sites along that way until you get down to some of the, really remarkable components. But again, having the tour guide was able to point out different writings on the wall. Amazing from, that many centuries ago.
It's been that many centuries ago, and it's just kind of scrawled on there. And I laughed at this one because at the top it says Tommy, and my name is Tom, and I could picture myself scratching my name into some site that would become some historic site.
UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Yeah.
Tom was here.
Tom was here. That's the kind of thing I would do. And then, as a child, and then look back now and go.
And obviously, this is one of the components that's been restored in putting this archway up that would have led into someone's home or a civic building of some type.
Yeah, all that's really left standing is the
because you look at that and go, wait a second, how's that still standing?
No, it's been stood back up.
Yeah.
And here you can see it, the different colors. The white original stone and then the brown concrete that they patched in there to make it work. And, just the craftsmen. And I enjoyed looking, there weren't any here, but I enjoyed looking at the craftsmen just kind of working on this stuff. And
yeah, there wasn't, you couldn't, in the areas we went to, you didn't see active restoration. going on. But the marble was just amazing. I think there's a shot coming up here of some pink marble,
Yep.
which was really neat to see.
And even those marble walkways were impressive.
Oh, they were huge stones.
Huge marble slabs.
Tom was here.
That's me. I didn't carve my name in anything this time.
But yeah, just amazing, decoration on the columns and tableaus and different things of that nature.
Yeah.
Cornices and pieces that had fallen down. So clearly a lot of artisan work in that area.
And like I said on a lot of these videos, but it's kind of my life and who I am. I've worked in civil projects really my entire working life, and I find it unfortunate that we don't put beauty into the projects anymore like they did back then. Even in the 40s and the 50s, wastewater treatment plants were all Art Deco and attractive buildings, and now we build buildings as cheap as we can. And I mean, I get it, it's a wastewater treatment plant or whatever, but still I think there's room for aesthetics and beauty
in civics.
In civics.
Civic stuff.
Yeah. And these people really got that. And I appreciate seeing that.
So that we're still walking along this walkway, and you can see just how big these stones are that are on this walkway as you're going through this area. And whether these were homes or, again, more of the storefronts, I can't recall.
I think they were storefronts. They were little. Love this one. Yeah, it was just beautiful.
Yeah, and I can't recall if there was like supposed to be a sister match to this, because this corner looks like a corner of a building.
Yep.
Or not, but yeah, that was neat to see. Yeah, and here's the one with the pink marble.
Pink marble.
You can see. So just basic stone in the background as far as the framing is concerned, and then you have these more elaborate, luxury type decorative components of columns and things like that.
But that's a good point. Even just the stone itself is beautiful.
Like I say, that walkway, we're starting to walk down now. This is where it got steep and slippery.
Yep.
I was not the only person holding on to somebody else. But yeah, you come around that corner and start to come down that hill, and you're like, wow. And there's the, well-recognized library, the building down towards the bottom.
Yep.
That's been restored.
But
from a distance, you can also see where there's the farmland that we drove through to get here. So again, it's just up in these hills is this remarkable location. There's a good segment of that restored building there.
Yeah. That
one was pretty remarkable.
Yeah. We spent some time talking. What do you think that was? And what went behind it in those stairs? And you can look and see just the wear on those stairs from the people walking up them over the centuries. And
a lot of that is in really good condition. Yep. I mean, the columns, a lot of the upper part, I mean, it's just,
I think it's been restood back up.
Because, absolutely. Absolutely. But still, the condition of it.
Yeah.
Especially the columns. Yep. It may have been more the home area.
Yeah, I think this is probably
residential
more the
component.
Home area. Yeah.
And a lot of engraving there.
Yeah.
Don't know what it said though.
Something I think about though, that probably took somebody days to engrave that in there.
Oh, this was
the bathrooms.
The community bathroom.
Yep. No stalls. Sit there next to your neighbor. But I've heard, looking at this, there's a concept in plumbing drains called fixture units, and it's my understanding that that's all based back to these communal toilets for water demand and drain capacity for the toilets.
Mm-hmm. So now we actually come down to the Celsus Library. initially believed to be constructed 100 AD. And it was a library. Again, from the little bit of research that I did on it, it was a collection of scrolls. Like 12,000 different scrolls were believed to have been there. And I believe that was in the Roman period. I don't think it was the Greek period. I think it was the Roman period. So, yeah, remarkable.
But I went in there, and it was small inside. I don't know how you could fit 12,000 scrolls in there and have enough room to go in there and pick out a scroll.
So this is a diagram. I mean, there were periodic little diagrams or information things about, the different things you were seeing. And the Celsus Library, certainly the most well-known monument of Ephesus, yeah, for sure, was built between 100 AD and 110 by Gallus Ilius Aquia for his father, the senator Tiberius Ilius Celsus. The library can actually be interpreted as a Haroon, which was built over the burial chamber of the deceased. A flight of 9 steps at the facade, flanked by statue bases, led to a vestibule which the actual library room could be entered. Different stages of what they thought, yeah.
But that picture in the lower right, I mean, when I went in that library, it seemed tiny. It looks much bigger in that picture in the lower right.
Well, and the orange is showing you that what that footprint would have looked like.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and too, the other one you were talking about, what's, when you excavating, clearly it had the tallness of it had already fallen down, and so that's what it looked like at that time when they started, and then they were able to refabricate that, restore that. But it was just a really neat space. So we were able to walk up there. Tom, like he was saying, he did go inside. But the statues were pretty impressive, and the marble on the columns,
the carvings.
And, it was just pretty amazing.
Here's
this menorah, and I guess when you kind of see it, it's to the center of the picture, a little to the left. You see the circles that are at an angle, and then over to the left, you can see what looks like a candle menorah stick.
And I wonder if that was just carved by somebody sitting there.
Don't know.
Probably
somebody did.
Probably some Tom back in the 100 AD carving on the steps, waiting for somebody to get there.
Well, and like I say, Tom made it up to go inside. I did not. The steps were pretty tall to get up. So I let Tom go up and take photos up there. And that's on the inside looking out.
Mm-hmm. But see how much smaller it looks in there?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then the writing on the walls, but we don't know what that says either. And then from there over to your right, you start to walk out of this library complex area, and you're headed out towards this other remarkable amphitheater.
Yeah. Remarkable is an understatement.
And this is part just before you exit that area. Some of the restoration work they're still working on. So as you walk out of that column, you're then going into the central market area. And this was about 3rd century AD. But again, another one of these information panels, which was nice. But of course, the tour guide was providing information too. But there's some photos there at the bottom to kind of show what it looked like when they first started looking before the, key restoration.
Back to the tour guides real quick. Sharon mentioned it earlier, but the tour guides, they were archaeologists and very knowledgeable people, and that I kind of noticed universally throughout our tours. or throughout our trips that not just anybody could be a tour guide. You had to be licensed, and in order to be licensed, you had to have a college degree in history or archaeology, and so yes, you could really believe what your tour guide was saying, which was neat.
That Marble Street I was mentioning. But yeah, just again talking about the just devastation of earthquakes and whatnot of the area. This is the commercial market area, some of the remnants there, that square that you saw on the diagram. But there's some interior plumbing.
Drain piping, yep. And that drain piping is not that different from clay piping that is still used today. Little short sections.
And so now we're getting into this huge amphitheater, and obviously they're still doing some work there, restoration work. But this amphitheater, this is where they hold concerts there pretty regularly. It was the Great Theater Amphitheater, built in different stages there, but it had a capacity of 25,000 people. But they do concerts there, and I think one of the most well known was a Sting concert back in the, was it late 80s, early 90s, I think. You can see that online if you look it up on YouTube.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's huge.
It's huge.
Huge. It's pretty amazing. Again, trying to imagine, the performances that went on there. And some of that information I had read, it talked about the Apostle John doing presentations about Christianity, and they were speculating that it could very well have been from that, in that amphitheater area.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. How can people hear just somebody talking?
Well, don't they kind of create their own kind of sound?
Yeah.
Because of
I think the acoustics of it, but still, that's an awful long way. And more of those marble.
Yeah, this was as we're getting ready to exit the area. This is kind of the end of the tour. Now this one wasn't too hard to walk on because it was flat. It wasn't that downhill.
yeah, you didn't feel like you were going to slip on the flat parts, but the surface was the same.
Oh yeah. But again, imagine this as a main thoroughfare of the commerce and people living there and coming and going and doing things in that community. There we are.
And there we are, driver.
And these were just more remnants of the different cornices and things that were laid out there for people to see. So the town went, a little farther than what we went. And I would imagine for most respect, it may have gone all the way down to the port area of where that inlet was at.
Yep.
And kind of looking back at just again how big that amphitheater is. Huge.
That was something.
But those concerts and things are something they do all the time. There was advertisements there as we were leaving about different performances that were coming up that were going to be at the amphitheater. And then we were back on the road, headed back to the port. So like I say, you just kind of exit and you're
back on the road.
Back on the road. Just kind of an odd thing. So this is just some video I shot so I can kind of give a perspective of what it was like. Again, still all the farming land and whatnot, headed back to the port at the end of our excursion.
But something that struck me here is a lot of the places we went were like, oh yeah, this looks like Californian stuff. This doesn't. It had really no comparison to other places. It didn't remind me of anywhere. It was unique in its own sense. And the terracing too, I think is neat. You can't really see it here, but there was a lot of terracing, from the agriculture over the centuries. Mm-hmm.
And this was a highway. So we were moving right along.
Yeah.
60 miles an hour or so, probably. Something like that.
Maybe 90 kilometers an hour.
I don't know. I wouldn't know. I only know miles per hour.
55 miles an hour is 88 kilometers.
Lots
per
of
hour.
signage. Oh, okay. Lots of signage and billboards. So again, this is tourist area. Whether they're, on this outskirts area, so to speak, is more of these condo type complexes and whatnot. But we're starting to get back into that area of the port. But looking down on these, there were pools and whatnot. So I think a lot of people vacation here.
Yep.
From around Turkey or anywhere else for that matter. But there you can kind of see the highway and the excursion buses and coming and going. I'm not sure what I expected, but I was a little surprised by that a little bit with the highway. I kind of figured it'd be a little more rural in nature, but here we are headed back and our ship, the Viva.
Maybe that explains why all the tour buses on the highway. Just the cruise ships and the amount of tourism coming in and out of there.
So we're back at the port,
the
and just you could go down there. I mean, you didn't have to go on an excursion. Obviously, you could have just gone over there and found a space to sit on the beach. It was overcast and a little drizzly off and on when we were there, so it might not have been a good beach day. But as the umbrellas show.
And I love that sculpture of the black and white seabirds.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was neat.
And as I was mentioning, that's neat. Photo op frame there. Yeah, so Turkish rugs. So as I mentioned, the end of the excursion, and I think pretty much all these excursions end in the Turkish rug shops for explanation of.
Yep. Which was, and the Turkish rug shops were kind of more meaningful to me because my mom was a spinner and a weaver. So, she had a lot of weaving equipment, and it was basically the same as the weaving equipment they had here. But one thing I noticed was, we talked about this, the rug industry was kind of subsidized and encouraged by the government. And it kind of seemed like if you wanted to weave a rug, they would give you the loom and the equipment to weave it. And then, somebody that stayed at home could work on the rug in their spare time and then sell the rug.
Yeah, it was very much an industry, seemed a regulated industry to maintain the quality of the rugs.
Yeah, it seemed heavily regulated, and but it seemed also very kind of encouraged by the government.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It was kind of a cottage industry.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Certainly some beautiful rugs too.
Stunning rugs.
So we were not in the market for a Turkish rug, but it was interesting to hear about it and to see the different patterns and whatnot. It was very nice quality stuff.
It was very nice quality, and really the prices weren't what I would have expected. I was expecting them to be in the 10,000 euro range because just the amount of work that went into them.
Yeah.
And, they were fine threads. It wasn't like cords. They were very fine threads, but they were in the 1,000, 2,000 euro range, and they would ship them.
Oh yeah, shipping was
for free. That was included in the price.
Yeah.
So.
And some of them silk. This may have been one of the silk ones.
Yep.
But yeah, quite a variety there. But then we went outside. We were able to. The people were very nice. It wasn't a huge pressure thing. But we got out with not purchasing a Turkish rug.
Yeah, they would have liked us to buy one. That was what they were doing. Was selling rugs.
Yeah, but again, they weren't. I didn't think they were overly pushy or anything.
If you expressed a desire to buy a rug, they were right there and ready to help you. But they didn't push one on you.
No. So we just kind of really enjoyed just the experience of going in there, seeing how they do it, hearing about how they regulate the industry and things, and then seeing them. So it was a nice little visit. So
they did a demonstration of it.
And so we went outside, and you could walk around a little bit. Most of this was all just touristy shops, several different Turkish rug shops
Yep.
that were out there. This we took a picture of. This is a tapestry of the Mona Lisa, which was pretty good.
Yep.
Was pretty good. That's why we took a picture of it. I think there were two that we did.
It seemed kind of cheap to me.
Well, it was, but it was pretty good quality.
Really? Yeah, no, it was nice quality, but it was like, really?
Yeah. So we walked around a little bit, but then we headed back to the ship.
That's us.
Yep. On our way back in, and just like pretty much all ports, you walk through the gift shop of some aspect of a gift shop or a duty-free shop or
Yep.
something like that. So if you're needing any little things, you can take that along with you.
Some crystal menthol, you could get set right up.
Spices, baklava.
Yep. Cosmetics.
So we're back on the ship now, and so we were just kind of enjoying the scenery, and there's that little fort area.
There's that fort island, and yeah.
And we always enjoy, being out on the deck to watch when you're coming in or leaving. So that's what we were doing here, getting to watch all the goings on as they were getting the ship ready to leave.
Yep. And this was a particularly neat port. This port, I think, was an older port when cruise ships were shorter. And so they had added a couple extra tie-down points farther out that there was no dock to go to. So you can see that red boat would just nose up to the dock, and there was a gate on the very front of the boat, and the guy would just step off the boat right onto the dock. And I just like stuff like that, watching that, logistically how they
logistics, yeah.
tie up this 1,000-foot long
ship. Yeah.
And keep it from blowing away most of the time.
Yeah.
That's rare when they blow. The ropes break. That's in reference to our other video.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that video in Catania, Italy, we have a previous video that's on our channel about the incident when our ship, the Epic, which was the second cruise we were on, broke away from the dock.
I was stranded in Catania, Italy. Terrible.
And so, as I say, we like to kind of watch these ending pieces and listen closely on the video. We won't talk here, and see if you can hear, because as we were getting ready to leave, the prayer sirens went off.
Yep.
So see if you can hear it.
And this was something that I really enjoyed. I'm not Muslim, but that's neat. The life pauses while they pray, and it's just, I found that moving. I found it meaningful, and I found it pretty moving, and quite frankly, a neat idea to stop and pause and pray several times throughout the day.
But it was a neat kind of exiting of our first stop in Turkey. And like I say, this is the first stop. And then our cruise ended in Istanbul. And that'll be our next video.
That's our next video.
But yeah, we enjoyed it. And it was just really neat to see Ephesus. And if you're, knowledgeable in the Christian faith, you're very familiar with the Bible, I'm sure there's a lot of significance in going to that heritage site.
Yeah, and I think, well, I mean, I've said this several times, and I said this a lot on the trips. If I understood history more and the Bible more, I would probably realize the importance of those places more. They would still need to be there, but I think my lack of knowledge may have limited my appreciation for the sites, if that makes sense. Mm. It was literally a long way into our trip that I realized the Bible is part of the history. It's a telling of the portion of the history in that area in that time.
Certainly, yeah, certainly. I mean, obviously stories too, but yeah. There is historical reference in there as well. And while a lot of times you're planning your cruise, you're excited and whatnot, but if you have the opportunity to do a little research ahead of time, or you're able to get a tour guide book that tells you about the places you're going to go see, I think Tom's right that it certainly adds a little bit more to the experience when you understand some basics about the significance of where you're at.
Yep.
In world history. So if you have an opportunity to do that, I'd encourage you to do that. So yeah, so that's Kusadasi.
But if you like the video, be sure and hit like, and if you want to see more, hit subscribe. That helps us out. And if you want to see the Istanbul video, ring the bell to get the notifications. Yeah. That's coming up next.
And that's the end of our first cruise.
The end of our first cruise, yep.
And then we've got our second cruise, which was about a week later. But just to clarify, the Istanbul will be coming in on the cruise, and then we spent 3 days in Istanbul. So if you're planning to be on a cruise that stops at or ends or begins at, hopefully you'll find that video interesting.
Or if you just want to go to a neat, exotic place, Istanbul, Turkey certainly filled the bill.
Absolutely.
It was neat. So yeah, be sure. I'm looking forward to the Istanbul video.
Yep. So we'll get that out here soon. So thanks for watching. And as Tom said, we hope you like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
See you in Istanbul, Turkey.
We don't know how to say goodbye in Turkish.
No.
When we were in Rome, we could say ciao.
Bye.
See ya.
We'll see you next time.
Adios.